kind of business, whether online or offline, you probably already understand the importance of testimonials, case studies, reviews, that kind of stuff. Because here's the thing, social proof is a paramount element when it comes to persuasion, when it comes to persuading people to take action, to buy your products, to book a call, to do whatever, right? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm good, buy my stuff, and it's another thing to get other people to say good things about you so that other people take action, right? The problem is collecting those testimonials and getting meaningful testimonials, not the, hey, great work, I highly recommend it, but actually meaningful testimonials that will motivate other prospects to take action is the real challenge. You find yourself most of the time chasing down clients and chatting back and forth trying to get those testimonials. Today, Jordan is going to show us how you can collect those persuasion pieces on autopilot without chasing down clients. Jordan, thanks for being here and excited for this.
I'm excited to chat.
Yes. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and what got you into this? Because there are a lot of marketing agencies, email marketing agencies, copywriters, all that. But what you do is kind of really unique and really special and really niche in a way. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what got you into this in the first place?
Yeah, I'd love to, and I'll try to keep it short because it's kind of a long story that started over 15 years ago.
Sure.
So, back when I was 12 years old, I started my very first business. And I was a seamstress and ended up developing quite the professional client base there, and was was sewing for a publishing company and doing some pretty cool stuff. Um, but that transitioned into me not wanting to really do client work. I wanted to teach other people and I wanted to write. And so I combined those and wrote a book. And I wrote a book about sewing, how to sew something very specific. And then in as a part of the book, one of the appendixes had 5 case studies. And so, in writing this book, I developed my own case study template that showed the story of 5 different pieces that I made. And I wanted people to be able to compare and contrast those 5 stories. So I wrote them in a very structured format that told the full story and made sure I didn't miss anything. So that was how I came to be writing case studies. But I didn't do that professionally, the next day or anything like that. I had no idea that it was that valuable. It was just something I did for myself. And so a few years later, it was another colleague of mine, a business contact, like you and I are. Um, she wanted to build out her newsletter, write better content in her newsletter, write better blog posts, and she wanted to hire someone to do it. And so I volunteered and said, I write and I want to write more. I want to get out of this sewing stuff. I want to write more. And so I started writing for her, and we realized very quickly that the most effective blog posts that we could write would be the stories of past client success, because she had some amazing stories. The kind of stuff that she did was really neat, and the success that it had brought her clients was also really cool. And so I pulled out that old template and applied it to her business and interviewed her about her past projects and wrote up the stories. And we built up a little buffer, as you do. And she finally started sending them. And as soon as she sent that first newsletter out, she immediately got a reply from one of her past clients who said, "Hey, I need to hire you again. You just reminded me of the awesome work that you do. Let's chat." And so she immediately had a repeat client just because we told this powerful case study instead of writing just another blog post. So that's when I knew I was onto something. um, and over the next few years, oh gracious, I was up and down quite the roller coaster ride of health struggles. I had some health struggles that messed with my brain, and so I wasn't actually able to write for a while there. But I finally circled back around to it, and by that time I had gotten married, and my husband had developed some really great video editing skills. And so we realized what's even more powerful than a written case study, which we've already seen is super powerful, right? Even more so in this day and age on the internet is video. And so we combined those forces and started collecting video testimonials for our clients so that we can tell those awesome stories in video format as well as written content. So we do both. But we start with that video so that we can collect the stories in a really effective medium.
Wow, this sounds really great. You guys have the perfect combo. Your writing skills on one hand and the video editing skills of your husband. It sounds fire, really. That's amazing. And what results have you seen, like the most, let's say, impressive results you have seen for your clients when they started using these case studies, video case studies?
Well, I've already told you one of the stories, and that was even before we were bringing in video. And then the thing that makes a video super powerful is the proof part of it. You know, we talk about social proof, and social proof is broadly defined. I like to define it as other people talking about you. And so that can come in many, many forms, right? You can control it, you can not control it, and there's a big mixture in between. Um, and so video brings in the proof element really, really well. And so bringing in that video lets you share, like for example, a summit host that we made a video for. One of her speakers said, "This is like getting the red carpet treatment. It's awesome speaking for
Right.
this host." And so we get a very tangible story so that when other speakers, when the summit host reaches out to other speakers and shares this video on that pitch page or in that pitch email, they're able to feel what it's like to actually work with the summit host and speak for them, um, as well as the host didn't make it up. It's clear that the host didn't make it up and just put a little quote and a stock photo image,
Yeah.
right? Anybody can technically do
Right.
that. It's not legal, it's not ethical, but who's to say that people aren't out there doing
Yeah.
it? But a video, you hear it from their own mouth. However, those are examples of places where these testimonials, these case studies have affected business. But the bigger thing is how social proof has affected the individual business owners. I mean, just today, I heard back from somebody who got just a beautiful review that she wasn't even expecting. It just came in. She hadn't asked for it or anything like that. And she's a money coach. And she got this review from a client who hasn't worked with her in over a year, I think. And they just submitted this story and shared this story. And she was in tears. This money coach was in tears reading through this message of how her work with this client had continued to affect their lives and change their lives. And this money coach had had a really hard couple of months, was kind of doubting whether what she was doing mattered. And she got this review and it touched her and it gave her that fire that she needs to keep moving forward, get more clients, show up for her existing clients in a more powerful way. So that is one of the secret, I guess, powers of social proof is how it makes you feel.
Yeah. It's really amazing because on one hand, like we always think about the social proof element as, it increases conversions and all that, but we completely forget how it makes actually the entrepreneurs himself feel about his work and his mission. And it's actually empowering for the person that receives it more than the person who consumes it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That was an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that, Jordan. So, can you share 2 to 3 tips for, for people watching this on how they can kind of create persuasive case studies that actually move people.
Mm-hmm. My number one top tip, so do not miss this. Okay, if you've tuned out a little bit, if you're surfing Facebook on the sidebar, tune in for this one. My number one tip is to ask the right questions. Because if you reach out to somebody who you've just worked with, you've finished up a job and you're saying, see you later, and you just say, hey, could you submit a testimonial for me? That's not a very good question because you're liable to get like you mentioned earlier, the yeah, great work. It was awesome. And that's
And
about
that's it.
it. And I think we all have a couple of those testimonials. Um, but the other thing is, that's if you get an answer at all, because a bunch of people don't even
Right.
respond to that. And so you need to ask the right question in the right way. So the very first thing is to shift the way that you're asking for the testimonial. And instead of the focus being on me, can you submit a testimonial for me to use in my marketing so I make more money? How can you swap it around so that it's actually benefiting that person? Because ultimately, that's what we want anyway, right?
Right.
We don't just want to make more money. We want to change people's lives. That's why we're in business. And so, if you can change it around and say, it has been awesome working for you. I It's been amazing seeing you get these wins. You can even list a couple of them. It was really great when we XYZ. Um, would you share that story so that I have it recorded and so that we can celebrate fully together as we close out this time together, or whenever you position it. And so if you don't have to use those exact words, but you have to use that attitude. So shift your perspective. I want to celebrate with my client. I want to celebrate these wins. So how can I ask them to share with me those wins? Likewise, if you have something like a digital course or an automated program, you can drop in a request for a testimonial at the end or at a milestone point, and say, then you're really genuine, super genuine in asking for their wins because you're not working with them, so you're not seeing their wins. So you want to give them that opportunity to share them with you. So that's the first half of this tip. The second half of this tip is then, how do you actually draw out that story from them? And I'm going to give you one question that you can ask that is going to revolutionize the way that the testimonials that you get. And that is simply, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about working with me? And this is really important because it again positions it. They're not talking to you about how great you are. They're
Right.
talking to someone who's considering hiring you and isn't really sure and needs to know that this is the right person to hire. So, what would you say to someone on the fence about hiring me? So that's number one tip, is ask the right questions. Those are just a couple of samples of questions that you can ask.
Yes.
Obviously, for a big case study, you're asking even more questions.
I think
Um,
this is amazing because that question is like the foundation to everything that comes from that point forward. If you get that right, you're on track to get a great testimonials. But if you screw it up from the get-go, then you're not gonna get anything, right?
yep. I do have a couple more tips if you want all
Yes,
top
of
tips.
course. Spill the
So,
beans.
yeah. So number two is collect testimonials and case studies as you go along. Now, there are two sides of this. Um, I'm going to dig into a little bit if we've got a little bit of time. I'm going to dig in a little bit to the difference between testimonials and case studies, because up until this point, we've kind of used them interchangeably, but there is a difference. One of the differences is typically a testimonial tends to be shorter, and a case study tends to be an in-depth, full, complete story. But I think that the even more important difference between the two is that a testimonial needs to come from your client, whereas a case study you can write yourself, or you can have somebody write for you, like I did for my client before. It's the story of the project, so you don't need to be saying direct quotes, you're just telling the story of the project. So in either case, you want to collect these as you go along. When for the case study side of things, I suggest keeping a document where you just drop in notes. When a client has a win, drop it in there. When there's a particular part of your process that goes really, really well, drop it in there. Make some notes. Doesn't have to be in any kind of publishable format. What I did for my clients is I had question prompts that helped them to take notes as they went along with the project, and they could plug them into the right spots so that it was really easy to take those notes. And you know blank page syndrome, when you open
Right.
up a document and you're like, oh, what do I say? There's
Horrible.
so much and yet so little. Like, so I have those prompts, but you can just brain dump onto that blank page as well. That way, when you're done with the project, you don't have blank page syndrome.
Right.
So you can have those messy notes, but then you can edit them into something beautiful, or you can hire somebody to edit them into something beautiful. And you don't have to have them interview you and you're trying to think back on the project.
Yeah.
You can just hand it over and they can turn it into something awesome. So there's that. And then as far as testimonials, you can collect those. I touched on this a little bit. If you've got a course or a group program or something like that that's automated, you can build this into your automation so that when people are likely hitting a win or a milestone, you can check in with them automatically and just ask that question. How's it going for you? What has been your biggest win so far? And then you can get some testimonials that way. But don't despair if you haven't been doing this, because you can always go back and touch base with people who have been through your program, who have been through coaching with you. And there, if you ask the right questions, it's not awkward, but it's really easiest to build this into your process. Build it into your offboarding at the end of your coaching. Like I mentioned before, that's a really powerful way to actually get these testimonials, because it's when people are at that emotional high and they want to share. They want to talk about all the amazing things that are going on in their life right now. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, if I just dive straight into that, again, I touched on it. Don't just use these for marketing. Don't just use case studies and testimonials for marketing. Keep them in a file. I label it encouragement file, so that if I'm having a down day, or down a week or down month, then I can pull it up and read through them, listen through them. This is another place where video testimonials are super, super powerful, because I can do a lot of, I'm a writer. I can make stuff up in my head all day. And I do. And so sometimes when I read a testimonial that's just been typed up, I think, oh, well, they had to say that, or maybe their tone, I can dumb down their tone. But if it's video and you hear the tone of the person, you see them, that's, again, social proof for you. They took the time to actually create a video for you and to speak highly of you verbally and with emotion, and you can feel that emotion and you don't read into that emotion. So these can be super powerful for down days, but they can also be powerful for making up days even higher. If you sit down to write an email sequence, a sales sequence, or a Facebook ad, or whatever you're preparing, maybe you're prepping to get on a really important sales call, you can open up that encouragement file and remind yourself of what people think of you, because they think you're awesome. And if you have testimonials, you can prove that to yourself.
Wow, this was amazing. Thanks for all these tips, Jordan.
You're very welcome.
So, from what you're saying, I understand that you work mainly with coaches and small business owners, but do you have kind of a more, let's say, target market that you work with, or is it, wider than that?
It's fairly wide because, like you said, there's not a lot of people doing this. So we want to be able to serve everybody. So we've got a couple different processes that work well for coaches versus course creators and such. But we have a particular product that lets you do this yourself instead of us building a custom process for you. Um, you can learn our process in a workshop that we did, and we have the recordings, and it's now like a course. And so the person that this is really perfect for is someone who has at least three solid client success stories. So three people that you can think of off the top of your head that were really excited to work with you, there was a success story of some kind. This doesn't necessarily mean like tripling revenue or some of these crazy case studies that we see out there. You just want someone who was really excited to work with you and really happy at the end. It doesn't matter what you did. Like I said, this was a money coach. So this person, I think, was sharing this story of how they decided to have another child. And it was such a blessing, and they got to sit with that child because they weren't worried about money. And so they were able to really celebrate the birth of that child. So that's not I made 10K in 30 days or something
Right.
like that. It's an even more emotional story, right? So it's three people that have been really happy to work with you, but you haven't recorded their story anywhere. You haven't written it down. They haven't submitted a testimonial, or the testimonial they've submitted is maybe just a screenshotted Facebook message or something really small, and you know that there's more there that you want to dig out, and you want their face showing what they really thought about working with you. And so that is who this DIY testimonial harvester is for, this automated testimonial harvester workshop. And in it, I'll show you how to build this into an automated system so that you're not just in the DMs constantly trying to get them to send you a video message, and they don't know tech very well, so they're not sure how to send you the best video. Like, it cleans up all of that and makes the process super smooth and easy. We use a tool called Video Ask that makes it super easy. Your clients don't need to download an app or anything like that in order to submit a video. So that's what the Testimonial Harvester is all about, and the DIY version is there for you. I think you've got a link for that. That
Yeah,
you can share.
I'm gonna put
Yeah,
it in the comments. So
perfect.
basically, it's a plug and play system that completely automates the how people get testimonial and case studies and all that, right?
And depending on, you can start really simple with just that one question that I mentioned earlier, and you can collect that video, and it's all in a file where you can find them. It's all organized immediately. Um, or you can continue to build that out and get those grander case studies, whole YouTube, multi-minute length videos showing the story of your process, and anywhere in between, of course.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing, I think. And honestly, I think that anyone who has a business, whether online or offline, should get his hands on this, because like it's not something that, you do once and you're all done. Like, this is something that you keep doing and doing and doing and doing as long as you are in business, right? So it's
Mhm.
actually a no-brainer. You're going to invest into something
Yeah.
that will, I don't know, I can't put an ROI on it, but it's at least 10x, at least, right?
Yep, especially if you put it into an effective marketing plan, and you can use them for marketing as well. It's going to bring you um, more. Oh, I could rattle off all the statistics about how
Yeah,
people look at reviews and want to know, what do real people think about working with so and so or buying this product. Um, and if you can just serve that up to them, then they don't have to Google it, and maybe Google wouldn't even show anything up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because customers today are actually very sophisticated, right?
Hmm.
Compared to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever. Like, they are very skeptical. And I think there was a statistic there that was saying like people do, I don't know what was the number, but they do a number of research on a product or on a company before they buy the thing.
Hmm.
So if when they do the research they find those case studies, or better, if you serve them directly those case studies, like you're golden. And
Yep.
the other thing is that most of your competitors, whatever the niche you're in, they're not doing this.
Yep.
So you're gonna have an unfair advantage over everybody else.
Yep. And
It's
it,
amazing.
it kind of comes back around to our why and the thing that really drives us at Civilized Animal Productions, my husband and I, our team. Um, it really comes down to reputation. What kind of reputation do you want? And there's only so much that you can control regarding your reputation, right?
Right.
It's what other people say about you. But if you can capture what people do say about you that is positive and share it and spread it, then it's only going to grow and multiply. And so yeah, this social proof secret is pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can probably go for hours and hours talking about social proof, but I want to respect your time, Jordan. I want to thank you for doing this. Do you have any thoughts or any final words you want to keep our viewers with?
Well, if you want to stay connected, like you said, we can go on for hours and hours, and we are going to at later this year, we're going to have the Social Proof Secret Summit. And so we don't have a waitlist for that quite ready, but if you want to connect with me, go to our website, civanpro.com, civanpro.com, and there's a little chat widget. And there's two reasons that I want you to go and use that chat widget. One, it's the same tool that we use to collect testimonials. So you'll get to see what it's like from the client perspective to submit a video. It's super easy. Plus, that's a way to connect with me, and so then I can respond to you and we can get connected, and I can get you that wait list as soon as it's up. It's going to be soon that'll be available. And yeah, then we can dig into social proof, how to use it, how to put it out on social media, all the things social proof, an entire virtual summit about it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And by the way, guys, I'm gonna put in the comments the link to the Testimonials Harvester workshop. So that's the first thing. And you should absolutely get your hands on this, whether you think you need it, whether you think you don't need it. You will need it one day. Believe me, trust me on this. So get your hands on it. It's like, no, I think it's a couple of $100. It's like nothing. Get your hands on this. I'm gonna also include the link to your website, to Jordan's website, so you can test out in real time the process of this video testimonial thing and see how it works. That's pretty much it. It's time to wrap up. Jordan, thanks for doing this. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks so
And
much.
looking forward for the next interview, maybe once you
Maybe
launch at the
so.
summit. Yes,
Yeah, that'd be
let's
awesome.
go. See you guys.